I'm David.
And Richard here.
We've got a very direct update, Saito Summer 16, all of the stuff that's happening.
Yep.
Let's try to get this done as quickly as possible because we're super busy.
Yes.
Starting,
Yep.
ATR token persistence work. This is stuff that's ongoing. The ATR module, you may have seen, it continues to improve. We've successfully solved 4 bugs that we would not have otherwise caught with ATR looping. It may be bug free. We're continuing to test. We are also on the Rust side doing work in moving towards permanent chain. Part of this work is what happens if we initialize the blockchain from block 3 or block 7, because that's the world that we're going to move into as we stop resetting. Any chain updates are going to require parsing the entire loop before we
Yeah.
continue. So
And
that's
anyone who
what's
wants to
happening.
spin up a node needs to start from wherever the chain is at, not the beginning.
Right. So that's where we are. It's not really visible to people who aren't looking at GitHub, but the Rust work is ongoing. Did we miss anything, Richard,
I
there?
think that's good there.
Okay.
Maybe skip into Web3. Two quick things. One is being flagged on Red Square. There are issues at the moment with BTC and ETH. Those are mid-resolution. It's a rate
Yeah.
limiting issue, nothing fundamentally broken. So we're just trying to make sure that's fixed as soon as possible. And the other thing is they'll see experience differences in RS as we continue to try and piece by piece improve all of the algorithms around curation, etc. So
Yeah.
do get along.
Everyone's doing a bunch of things, so it depends on when someone can find time. Red Square is not highest priority, but I think we're looking at the leaderboard updates as arcade growth keeps happening. Like you
Yeah.
visit Square and you just see Tuco being pummeled by really good PS
Poor
players.
Tuco and his Tuco has the deep seek experience every
Yeah.
day when the Chinese turn up and toy with him.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that
Thank you,
gets us
Tuco.
in gaming and arcade. We have transaction growth there and usage growth, which is fantastic. It's a
Yes.
snake pit.
Yep.
What's going on?
It's growing. I think aside from our usual pleasure, the continued growth in TS numbers, eGuild's doing game nights now on Sundays. So we're working with Multiverse X and the um, I forget the name of the community, the Eagle community, on running some Eagle game nights. Those are pretty cool, fun to come along, get some good challenging games going, and obviously Eagle prizes as well, which keeps it interesting.
Hmm.
David, you've got Here I Stand news?
Sure. Twilight Struggle, as we've said, is ongoing. Here I stand. We're starting public games this week, starting this Wednesday probably. It's going to be small groups. If you'd
Yeah.
like to learn how to play, flag me, flag Tuco. You can flag Duke or another member of the community. Come in one night. It takes 2 to 3 hours. Here I Stand is the same kind of game as Twilight Struggle. So we're hoping that the people that like Twilight Struggle also like this new one. It's fantastic,
Yeah.
especially if you are strongly Protestant or strongly Catholic or none of the above.
If you're Chinese and love TS, why not rework the Reformation?
Right.
I think.
So that's happening. We're moving towards public games as that stuff becomes. We're going to move towards tournaments after this. Already got prizes. We've got bought copies of the games to give away for people. Fantastic. So
Yeah.
hopefully the community will also love this.
Yeah.
Um, One suggestion: if you're coming to play the games, come at us with hate on game design, because inside Saito we have these ongoing debates. We had it this week about poker, the poker UI. Richard
Hmm.
has some very strange requests for what he wants the UI to show. I kind of
Vital, important information.
kind of grating at me,
Yeah.
and things basically simmer in a state of unease until someone gets irritated enough that they fix it. So if you're playing the games, you see something's wrong, it doesn't mean we don't know it. It may mean we're not quite sure how to fix it. Come with
Yeah.
suggestions, come with improvements.
Yeah, and I
Thanks.
think don't get overwhelmed by the like. If you're a developer, then develop and do a PR for us. But if you're just a community member, not just, but if you're a community member with other skills or whatever, a napkin drawing is also fine,
Yeah.
or just a text description. Don't feel like it's there's an overhead you can't get past. We
Yeah.
need to know what's
We're,
what
you
can be
know,
improved.
we're looking at things like gaming growth. We've got the Gold Game Nights. It means
Mm.
all of the games, if there's something that we can improve with them, it really does help us to improve it. But
Yeah,
as you can tell, we're doing a bunch of things. So help with this flagging things. This is a problem. that helps us get it fixed.
Yep.
Why don't we move on? Academic outreach. We've got something we're going to talk about soon.
Yep.
I wanted to briefly, before we go into that, I wanted to talk about what's happening with academic outreach. We've got 2 to 3 papers in circulation. One is being developed by an outside team. I'm kind of an advisor on this, and I'm helping them. But that's moving at its own pace. And there's a paper that is being submitted from that. If you've seen on Twitter, I've also recently released a separate paper that's about 7 to 8 pages long, very short, but I think important. And I wanted to briefly explain what this is for people who are in the intellectual idea space with Saito. The reason this paper matters, the paper is about incentive compatibility with collusion resistance. The reason this paper matters is it goes directly to the fundamental assumptions that are being made by the people that are writing academic papers to advise the ETH development roadmap. It's very specific to mechanism design in academia because it talks about something called truthful preference revelation, which is the assumption that if you design incentive compatible auctions, they're going to have a property where people tell the truth. And what this paper points out is it points out that in blockchain mechanisms where we have the potential for collusion, the information that people need to share with the mechanism is higher dimensional than can be contained in the fee. And the reason this matters is that all of the auction designs that are coming out of ETH, Solana, all of the people advising proof of stake, they are making models where they assume the fee represents truthful preference revelation. And that gets them into a bunch of circular impossibility proofs that lets them throw their hands up and say, well, we can't solve the problem, so let's faff around and try to have compromises and trade-offs. This is a short paper. What it shows is it shows, no, you actually, the problem isn't mechanism design. The problem is your assumption that the fee represents the truthful preference that the user has, because the preferences expand to include things like, do I want to collude? Do I want the collusion outcome? Do I want the non-collusion outcome? We've got the paper up. I would love feedback from anyone. I'm sharing this because if you are in Saito and you're as part of the intellectual movement that we've got, and you understand this, you're going to understand one reason that ETH and Solana and all of these places are just going off the rails on mechanism design and becoming centralized. And if you understand the contents of the paper, you'll also see that what we are doing is we're posing a fundamental challenge to the computer scientists that think they understand mechanism design. Yep. So, if we're using this paper, we're submitting it now, it's trying to be polite, like we're not trying to, hey, you're wrong. We're trying to say, look, these tools that you're using to study the problem, they need to be correctly applied. And you're not correctly applying them. And because of this, you're not in this position where you can even find the solutions that do exist. So for us, it's kind of a stepping stone of getting people to see, if you do this, you're going to be able informationally to solve the problem. And we're hoping to get people here. If you are connected in the space, you know people in academia, share the paper with them. If you know people running conferences, share the paper with them. We would love to go to blockchain conferences and say, look, so we're actually, this kind of application process is happening.
Yep.
We are applying and we are doing reach out to more
I think
blockchains.
Like Fibonacci's tweeted in response to you posting the one paper. Like it's really about getting that one domino to fall. If we can get that one domino in the industry to fall and read and understand what's being said, there's a massive cascading effect that comes from this, because everyone will need to be rethinking what they're putting their money behind, basically.
All of the auction mechanism design papers that are considered seminal in proof of stake will fall. That's what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that the academics are bad, but they don't actually informationally understand the problem, and this is one of the points of the paper, right? It's like, what's the truthful preference? Is it the price that you don't get told by the person, or is it the price you get told by the person? Actually, in this case, it's they're getting it wrong. So if you're involved in ideas, it's a wonderful set of ideas. You're really going to enjoy it. If you're not into ideas, you can skip past it. This stuff is happening too. With that said, let's get to the bulk of today, Richard, which is
the announcement, which is, I think people would have seen some teasing about it. Basically, ZK proofs, zero knowledge proofs, are now live on Saito. Thanks to Chap Z, who put in front of us some stuff on multi-parted trusted computing,
Yep.
which was the kind of seed to get into this. The shape this takes right now is a zero knowledge voting module, which basically is a demo. It's a proof of concept that shows you, it works perfectly well, but it shows you how you can have different people, different Saito users all vote. You can inspect the result of the vote to see that everyone voted once and that they're each unique keys, but you can't tell who they voted for. So it gives you a secret ballot on the Saito blockchain, which does a whole bunch of stuff for us. I think maybe we should get into like why we did this, what the purpose of it really is.
Before we do, maybe I can check a sanity check. One of the reasons this matters is it's coming out in networks like Proof of Stake because people want to have EVMs and trading engines where you can submit buy and sell orders, but they can't be front run. So the goal is you've got some engine that's doing something and it will compute things like it will match buys and sells. But you can't tell just by looking at the transaction whether it's buy and sell. So you can't front run it. So this is the informational part of the space. This does not mean we've built that buy and sell engine. What we're doing is we're showing it's possible to do on Saito. Here's how you do it. And here's how you incorporate external WASM libraries.
Yeah, I suppose so. There's those.
That's how these cryptographic libraries that are used tend to be packaged.
Yeah.
So if you have a dynamic module, you can now do it.
Well, it gives you the ability to, for instance, like the WASM, just the WASM side of it. Now we have step-by-step instructions. If you wanted to build an EVM into a Saito module and build an L2 with it, this is step-by-step instructions on how to do that for devs. Yeah. Then with the zero knowledge stuff on top, it gives you all of these tools that people often use smart contracts for. This can give you a massive leg up in a lot of DeFi cases as well, because you can do things like escrowing, et cetera, et cetera. So you can have a proof that shows that something's happened without having to divulge who did it, et cetera. So a lot of stuff with privacy provision and all of those sorts of things. And it's basically step-by-step guide now on how to get that done.
Also, and I mean, it's also with dynamically compiled modules. So previously, you could use WASM and you'd get an NPM library and you'd compile it and you'd run on your server. This is much better, more elegant. So first of all, thank you to Chapsy who put this on our plate. I also want to use it just to remind people, we do try to be responsive to developers who, like Chapsy, approach us with, this is really important, this is really interesting, you guys should look into it. We don't view this module as, it's a poll. It's not a poll. It's a demo of ZK snarks. We're not necessarily going to take this and push this into something that's the core of the chain, but it is important for devs to see. If you have something similar ideas, even if you're not capable of coding it, please reach out. You're welcome to, because we will put development effort into supporting devs who are doing work to build on Saito. Yeah,
if anyone wants to take any of the things we were just saying and take them to the next step, build something using these technologies, we'd love to be part of seeing that happen and helpful in making it work. So it's pretty exciting. And I think it tees up a little bit with things like the React UI module we built a while ago, where we're building up this library of tools to help developers see how they can achieve certain things that they'll want to achieve, that their app, not necessarily Saito Stack. Could be part of the Saito Stack, but it could be part of anything that they want to build. And it's pretty exciting to see this be part of it.
Yeah. And it also means that whenever you run into something which has cryptographic libraries, which are external and bundled into a WASM library, we now have the docs that show exactly how to get the Saito applications.
How to do it securely and how to interact with the blockchain, all of those things.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, if you don't really understand what it is, you can just be like, it's a ZK poll. If you understand what it is, it's quite cool.
If you have any questions, bring them to Red Square. Just before we wrap up, I think 8:30 p.m. CET, Central European Time tonight. It is, and I remember now, it's the X Alliance versus Saito Community Settler Showdown. Me and Dan will be taking on some of their big brains for some Eagle prizes. Should be fun. It's just a fun live stream event, so anyone who's interested, turn up for that.
Okay. Okay. Short update. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.